This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social. Delighted to be joined finally this week in Glasgow by Kalle Sauerland. We're here at the SSE Hydro after Josh Taylor and Nonito Donaire's spectacular victories in the World Boxing Super Series. Now I've got that out of the way. How are you, Kalle?
Very well, very well. Yeah, we've been missing each other since Wednesday, so good to hook up now. We can talk about the fights that have actually happened. I've always preferred that to making predictions and giving analysis before a fight.
So let's talk about the fights that happened. Let's start off with the main event, or certainly the final fight of the evening. Josh Taylor, spectacular performance against Ryan Martin.
Yeah, I mean, Tartan tornado. He certainly showed that tonight. You could feel those winds up into the Highlands of Scotland. Unbelievable. I mean, he came out the blocks. Mustn't forget, I just came from New Orleans and Orlando, back-to-back shows in the US last 2 weeks, and all the media over there ranting and raving about Ryan Martin. And I've watched his fights. I've seen him fight on the big co-features, some very big fights, Golovkin fights and HBO fights, and he's looked great. But tonight he just got overwhelmed. I mean, I said it looked like sprinter coming out the blocks, Usain Bolt coming out the blocks, and Josh just put everything on him. I mean, whether it was uppercuts, hooks, jabs, body shots, head shots, the whole variety, but also in between the feints, the head movements. He's just super sharp and super powerful, and it's just a joy to watch.
Do you want to touch on something that you said in the press conference? You labelled this the best or joint best performance of the World Boxing Super Series, along with Naoya Inoue. Just elaborate on that for me.
Yeah, just in terms of, we've seen some great fights already, but obviously the Inoue knockout on the first night in Japan was, I think anyone who hasn't seen it yet needs to, it doesn't take long, go and have a look at it. And he sent shockwaves, I think, with all the boxing, just not only the bantamweight division, but I think Josh tonight has put on a performance that will certainly go across the pond, and Baranchik as his semi-final opponent. We'll have a good look at that. Pedro Diaz is his trainer. We'll have a good look at that. But I also think that on the other half, the guys will look at it as well. I mean, Progress looked very sharp in the second half of the fight last week. But the performance so far in this tournament, the super lightweights, has certainly come from Josh Taylor.
Now, you mentioned Josh Taylor versus Ryan Baranchik. No Baranchik tonight. Usually get him in the ring, do a little bit of a face-off, but he wasn't here tonight. Why was that?
Some visa issues, but no. Look, at the end of the day, we're going to have an even tighter schedule this year. We're running a little bit late. We started early September, then we started late in September this year. Obviously, coming off the back of that, the final at the end of September with Smith and Groves from season 1. So we've got a tight turnaround. So we're not going to make people fly all the way around the world to do certain things when I'd rather than be either resting or back in camp for those big semi-finals coming up.
I appreciate it's not necessarily your job to pick venues and locations and what have you, but tell me a little bit about Glasgow. Some atmosphere in there for Josh Taylor.
Yeah, I've heard all about this Scottish crowd, and when I got in tonight, the first 2 fights, it was a quieter atmosphere, and then suddenly, whoa, ignited, and it was cracking. And I love watching fighters develop in their markets, and if you look at, he seems to be drawing more and more. We set up here for 6,000 tonight. We did, I think, 5,800, something like that. So we're very close to a sellout. Next time, I think we'll go for the whole venue, and it's will be 10,000 set up. So performance like that, you just got to stand up and take notice. It really was special, and he's a great kid as well. Great kid.
Does this performance now make Josh Taylor the favourite in the super lightweight tournament?
Well, I'm not a bookie, but he's put on the best performance so far. But Progress is an unbelievable fighter. The other guys as well. I mean, Baranchik's going to be a very tough fight in the semi-final. Very tough fight. Baranchik's very dangerous, especially early. Very dangerous fighter and a world champion. So on paper, I guess he's the favourite. He's a world champion. But on the other hand, I think Relic he had a tough first fight, a bit tougher than he thought it would be, and he made some mistakes. But we've seen from Mellick's other fights the quality he has. WBA champ, it's igniting. It's igniting nicely. Those semi-finals are mouth-watering. Reddick, Progress, and Baranchik obviously against Taylor. Those are cracking fights.
Now, elsewhere on the card, obviously we saw Nonito Donaire crowned the new WBA world champion. We'll come on to his performance afterwards. We'll just spare a moment for Ryan Burnett. Tragedy for him, heartbreaking injury that he suffered in the 4th round.
This sport is hard, and it's at times like this. It's when I think what goes into that training camp, and then to lose it on something like that. I mean, there's a few questions were indicating it might have come from a punch or something. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. It'd be a weird punch though. I think it's a slip disc, so I really can't believe it came from a punch. I think it might have made him miss, and he did it when he missed. But at the end of the day, it was a freak injury. It's a freak injury, and it's not a nice way to lose your place in the tournament, lose your world title. If he's fit for the I'd love to have him back in as reserve. Maybe fate has its way and he gets a second crack. It was shaping into such a nice fight. It was Donaire looked super sharp, super fresh. I haven't seen him like that in a couple of years. He really looked comfortable at the weight. Everyone talking before, will he make weight, will he not? Looked totally comfortable at the weight, was punching at the weight, he just looked very, very, very fresh, to be honest. And Burnett was nice on the counter. So it was cool, very, 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 freakish accident that caused it to finish. And it's always a shame in any sport when it's that. So if there's a Wimbledon final and there's someone trips over the ball and injures himself, it's not the way you want it to end it. But it was shaping up into such a great fight.
Just final word on Nonito Donaire. As you say, a lot of people, myself included as a boxing fan, someone who's followed Nonito's career for a long time, the eyebrows were raised with him dropping down 2 weight classes to box at bantamweight. Do you feel vindicated now with, obviously the result was what it was in a sense of a freak accident, but it was a competitive fight until that point. It was very exciting. Do you feel vindicated for having him in the tournament now?
For me, it was never a question. I mean, the guy's reached everything at that level, and you look for a blend. You look for young challengers. We have. We obviously have in other weight class. We have the super lights. We had the young, hungry contenders in Taylor and in Martin tonight. And on the other side, you also like to see the names. The seasoned champs, and whether he's had a couple of results. He's lost. When he's lost at the top level. Nonito Donaire has won everything. Like I said at the press conference, from knockout of the year to fight of the year to. I don't know, what was he? 4-time world champ, I think, something like that. 4 weight class, exactly. 8-4. It's insane, the statistics. So, of course he's got a place in the tournament if he can make the weight and come in. Of course, it's no brainer. He's shown us that tonight.
Okay, and just finally on the undercard, we saw Darryl Williams against Zach Parker. A lot of uproar about the decision. Many people felt that Zach Parker was wrongly awarded the split decision. Your thoughts on that?
I can't score a fight, which unfortunately I was working on some production things as well at the time. So actually doing some work, and I love watching all the fights, but occasionally I have to do some other work as well in the middle of the event. So I can't really give you my take on the scoring. What I can give you a take on is I thought Parker showed, absolute grit to fight with one arm for 11 rounds. Unbelievable. So on the basis of that, he deserves the moral victory already. But fair play to Williams. He came forward the whole fight. Was coming forward. Relentless. I think his name's Ferocious. It's a good fight name. He showed yesterday at the weigh-in that he was coming forward, and then he did that in the fight as well. So credit to him. He certainly. I know you're going to feel hard done by the decision and the L on his plate now. But at the end of the day, I'd like to see that fight again. And have hopefully Parker who can show us what he showed us in his previous fights, why he's one of the most talked about up-and-comers in the division.
Okay, well, Kalle Sauerland, thankfully we've been able to do this, been missing you all week. Look forward to catching up with you again sometime soon. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing Social.
Thank you so much.